So now I'm going to show you flat tone. So this part here will be flat tone. So what you need to do is to make sure in your watercolor, in your cover, or if you have a mixing plate, have a mixture of the color that you need in a puddle like this, enough paint that you need for the box. So I'm going to show you two ways to make a flat tone. Flat tone means it's, a flat, there's no dark or light area, it's just one tone. So for example here, okay, I'm just going to, so what you do is make sure that you're using a flat brush, and briskly or quickly you just have to paint over the surface or over the area, the space, so you don't get so the key here, secret here, is to really doing it fast. Okay, now another way to do it is to use, I used a flat brush here, but this time I'm going to use a round brush. So I'm going to load the brush with lots of pre-mixed paint, and then what I'll do is I'm going to tilt the paper a bit. Okay, so again we are still in the flat tone. So starting from the top, I'm going to paint, but if you notice on the edge of this paint is collected. Okay, at the bottom's part, you notice that there is like a line of paint. You notice that here? So there you go. So what you do is just, that's the one that you will pull down with your brush. Okay, so you'll bring them down, the water that are collected on the bottom part. Okay, so just be consistent with that. And then on the bottom part, there you go. So if there's still extra water, make sure that your brush, on the tissue, dab it so that the extra paint here, you will absorb it with you will pick it up with your watercolor paintbrush. So you notice, see, it's flat. There's no dark, there's no light. Now let's go to wet on wet. Wet on wet is, you have to make sure you have a clean water, a cup of water, and then the whole areas. For example, here, I'm just going to paint it with water, okay? Just paint over the space with water, enough water, okay? Just make sure it doesn't flood your table. There you go. I believe my paper is wet enough with water. Now, the next thing is, you decide what design you want to make. So for example, for me, I want to make a, sort of a sunset. So I'm going to paint a line here to separate my sky and my water area, my sea. So here, you notice I'm painting on wet paper with the watercolor. So then you have some mixture of other colors. So the nice thing here is it's like, we call it bleeding. So like when the water mixes with other colors, it bleeds. So it's like, it's nice to see the bleeding effect. The nicer the quality of your colors, the better. So this part takes a little bit of time. Sunset is really beautiful for this kind of effect, but any kind of painting or design that you want, will be nice to experiment and explore. Okay, so let's see. I'm sure you're going to love this technique, but it's a bit tricky, so you just have to be careful. For example, here I have the yellow part, that you don't really paint over your yellow if you want it to remain yellow. Okay, so the better the quality of your paint, the better the effect, because I think my other watercolor is not that good. There's some watercolors that are really nice effect for this. Okay, so I cannot stay long for this, but basically this is how you do it. So wet on wet. The reason why, because it's very difficult to upload a long video, so I can only do something like within, and I'm already 6 minutes. Alright, so let's see the effect here. Let's just add some orange to make it really look nice. The reflection in water. And then there are some parts, for example, that you feel like it's too, you can just pick it up with your water. So like my sun, I want to emphasize it. So you can use your tissue to pick up to really create the shape of your sun. Because some of the paints already cover the sun. So if you want to form it again, just use your tissue, even here the reflection. So this is something like the wet and wet. So these are your 4. We'll move on to the next.